All right, a couple of things as we get rolling here on the Randy Karraker Show, featuring Brooke Grimsley on Sports Hub STL. You know, Sports Hub STL is presented by DraftKings Pick 6, where the crown is yours.
It is yours.
It is yours.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday, and happy last day for now for the one, the only, the fabulous Brooke Grimsley. You might have noticed that she's very pregnant.
It's kind of hidden. As I mentioned before, it's almost like a 90s, early 2000s sitcom where they hide the pregnant character that's not supposed to be pregnant. And so it's almost like that because you can't see it behind the computer. But as we've noted, some people have noticed my face is chunkier, which is something that happens when you're pregnant. Mm-hmm. You know, that's how things work, is that everything kind of blows up on you.
Yeah.
Including your face.
You're going to, because your baby is just kicking the daylights out of you.
Yeah.
So this will be it for a while.
This is. I think he's ready to come anytime now, hopefully, because I was telling Randy this morning, I did not sleep well last night. At 3 a.m., I woke up and shrieked because you can literally see his feet like pushing out of my stomach. And then he started karate kicking my ribs. And so I did not sleep well. I did not sleep well at all.
Well, glad you made it here.
Yes. So we're any day now. We're in the any day now territory for him.
And for Sports Scrub STL later, we got St. Louis gooey butter cake from Schnucks.
I was explaining gooey butter cake to my mom because, as we know, I'm not from here originally. I am an outsider infiltrating St. Louis sports.
You are not. You're an insider.
I was explaining gooey butter cake to my mom because she's never had it before. And we have this thing in the South called chess pie, which is the same thing, but pie, not cake version. And it's a lot more sugar. So it's basically the same thing, but just sugarier, which is very on brand for the South.
Yeah. Okay. I need to try that sometime. Cardinals in Kansas City tonight. Okay, Brooke, let's start with this. Cole Riggins is pitching for the Kansas City Royals tonight. Should he not be a country music star?
It's a great country music name.
Cole Riggins. Yeah.
If you want, hey, look, we've seen where if you want to start your career as a baseball player and then pivot over to country music, it can be done.
It has happened.
It has happened. You just can't use Hey Y'all as your debut album. That's already taken.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Adam Wainwright. Yeah, thanks. Hey, y'all.
Isn't he's having a concert coming up soon in St. Louis, I believe. I believe July. I know I saw him post something about it, that he's coming back to St. Louis for a concert.
He's having a great career. So Riggins will be opposed by, let's start with Riggins. Riggins is tied for sixth in Major League Baseball, 65 strikeouts. They got him a couple of years ago at the deadline from Texas in exchange for Aroldis Chapman. I'd say that trade worked out. Although it worked out, Texas did win the World Series, so it worked out for Texas too.
You know what? World Series, I think that works out pretty well for them.
Yeah. So anyway, Riggins goes against Andre Palante, who does not. He sounds more like one of the tenors, right?
He's Italian, so it goes with that pretty well. Yeah, Andre Palante.
Cole Riggins and Andre Palante. So this will be a fun one tonight. Royals have lost 5 out of 6. They lost 2 out of 3 in Houston. Before that, they lost the last 2 in Boston. And the Cardinals, as you know, have won 10 of 11. So my question is, and I think this is a big weekend just for me from a perception standpoint, but what parts of the Cardinals, Brooke, do you look at as sustainable that they can keep doing? And what parts of this 11-game streak are just impossible to keep going?
So when we're talking about this, we're breaking down out of all of this because right now the Cardinals are firing on all cylinders. When you're talking about starting rotation, bullpen, and offense and defense, defense sustainable.
Absolutely.
I believe that that's sustainable for this group. So we can knock that one out of that question. Offense, I think offensively, we've talked about Brant Brown and how he's been able to work with these guys. You have Herrera back from injury. I believe that that's sustainable. Maybe not as hot at certain times as we have seen, but I believe that that is sustainable. Now, where it gets tricky is the bullpen and the starting rotation. Right. I believe that one of those, the bullpen, you had the ERA for how well they've been performing.
Their ERA in the streak is like 1. The bullpen
that seems pretty hard to keep up. So you would think that, but I'm looking more at the starting rotation, Randy, as that would be harder to maintain. We saw the cracks with Sonny Gray. Miles Miklasz has been performing well after that one blow-up game he had against the Boston Red Sox. He hasn't really, wavered since, but still we have seen some cracks in the starting rotation. It seems like that's the one that would be the least sustainable out of all those.
Is it fair to have questions about Palante, who goes tonight? I think it's fair. He hasn't put together a full season yet. He's really good. I don't think that he's shown us that he's a number 1, but I think he's a very solid middle of the rotation guy. Is it fair to question Miles Michaelis? Absolutely it is. He's going to be a roller coaster ride. He's going to give you good starts. He's going to give you bad starts. And so far this year, aside from Boston, he's been really good at giving you the in-between starts, which I appreciate. Then on Sunday, the Cardinals will pitch Matthew Liberatore. He's been great so far. But again, can he do it for 6 months?
Because with Matthew Liberatore, this is still new territory for him at the major league level, being able to be a part of the starting rotation. And a lot of these guys, you mentioned Sonny Gray. That was very concerning the other day, but then that wasn't the story of the game, because the story of the game in game 2 against the Phillies was the fact that even though the Cardinals were down 5-1 because of Sonny Gray's performance, they were able to offensively power back in that game. But with Sonny Gray, and you've pointed this out many times to the ire of many out there, though, Sonny Gray's not a warm weather guy.
No, and the statistics bear that out. And he's not Chris Carpenter, 6'5", 230. He's 5'11", 190 maybe. And he's not as good as Pedro Martinez.
And he sweats a lot.
He does sweat a lot.
He sweat a lot.
So my concern about him, and it's borne out by the statistics, are once you get to August, the latter part of August and September, he has a tendency to wear down. And then Eric Fetty, who came here last year at the trade deadline at the end of July, I asked Cardinal people, why are you not getting the Fetty that you saw in Chicago with the White Sox? And they said, oh, when he got here, he told us he was gassed.
Yeah.
So after 4 months, he was gassed. So can Fetty do it for 6 months? We don't know. And you made the point about Michael McGreevy too.
Well, that's the thing, is that Michael McGreevy, it makes a little bit more sense now as to why they aren't rushing him, because of what you just said there, that they know how quickly a lot of these guys are weighing down. We do have to mention too, Steven Matz. It's a good thing that they probably are keeping him in the bullpen, and he's been a team player through that. That could keep him healthy though, where if something does happen, you have him where you can put him back in the starting rotation. But I think that's another reason why they're not rushing Michael McGreevy at this moment, because they know probably that the starting rotation isn't sustainable. A lot of these guys do break down as we get later and later into the season.
By the way, I want to go back to let me do Liberatore for a second. Liberatore started 22 games at Memphis in 2022. He only threw 115 innings though. Threw 124 innings in 22 starts in 2021. So each of those years he started, 18 starts, 124 innings. His max for his career in 1 year is 124 innings. So in my opinion, you've got to be a little bit concerned about what Liberatore is capable of giving you beyond maybe 130. And as we sit here right now, he's at 46 1/3 at the quarter pole of the season. So he's on pace for 160, 170 innings, which would be way beyond anything he's ever done at this level.
And I see that Austin says, I think at some point this year, they need McGreevy in the rotation full time. I don't know who gets the boot, but he needs a shot. And that's kind of what we're implying, is that it's more than likely that somebody's going to get injured or not perform well here soon with the starting rotation. And so you can slot in Michael McGreevy. What's nice is that the wheels haven't completely fallen off of anybody in the starting rotation just yet. You mentioned that there's some cracks there, but there's also not much reinforcement. If you haven't seen some of the injury reports recently with some of the pitchers down in the minors, Tink Hintz injured again. So I was hoping that maybe at some point this season we would be able to see him. I know that he profiles a little bit more as a closer, but you would hope that you'd be able to see Tink Hintz soon. And he dropped out of the top prospects. I think the 100 top prospects this season too.
You got to see him before he can be a hot prospect.
Yeah, because he got injured a lot last season, and that was a big story for him. Now he's injured again. Then you also have Sim Robertsa is injured, and Quinn Matthews is injured too. And there's one more.
Cooper Zerpe.
Yeah, Zerpe also injured.
Tommy John. So he's up for the year.
There's not many reinforcements down in the minors, unless maybe they kick the can on having Gordon Graceffo as a part of the starting rotation. But that feels like that would be more of like a glass break emergency situation.
And Liberatore, by the way, threw 173 innings last year pretty effectively too. Threw 150 for Memphis, 23 for the Cardinals. So he's capable of giving somebody innings, whether it's the Cardinals or Memphis. And he's so far this year gone 39 1/3 innings. So the Cardinals, I think if they have a question mark, it's going to be in the starting pitching, which obviously quality starting pitching preserves the bullpen. One other point about the offense, though, that I wanted to get back to is one of the cool things I think that's happened is you have Scott and Nootbaar get off to red hot starts. Now they've cooled off, but you've got other guys that are red hot. You've got Mason Wynn and Contreras red hot. And that's how you can sustain an offense over the course of 6 months, is have different people get hot at different times. Donovan has been pretty darn consistent throughout the course of the season.
Burleson's bat picking up in May.
So sometimes when you're not that good, you'll have everybody get hot together for a week and a half. But this has been a different offense because they have people capable of getting hot, and they have, while other people have cooled off, the different players have risen to the top.
I feel like I need to knock on wood before I say this.
Yeah.
But Lars Nootbaar also being healthy.
Oh, yeah.
That's something that we have not been able to see a full season of, is Lars Nootbaar being healthy. We'll be able to see that. I'm interested too, because I saw some people talking yesterday about maybe moving Arenado out of the 4-hole and kind of mix and matching with Herrera. Do you think that Oli starts kind of doing something different lineup wise? And then you've even mentioned before too, would you move VS2 up because of his speed and his ability to get on base?
If they get to a point where they go into an offensive rut, I would like to see that. I'm fine now with the fact that they're scoring runs for the most part, but if they get into a rut, I have no problem with moving guys around.
Yeah.
And that would include Herrera being a middle of the lineup guy. We get this from Landon Jackson. It's hilarious how much these Royals fans have tickets marked up for this weekend. More expensive than their opening day and more expensive than their playoff tickets last year. Yeah, they are waiting for the Cardinals to come to town. And by the way, I give their new owner and their general manager and their manager, I give the Royals some credit because they went a long time. Well, they went from 85 to 15 basically being bad. Then they went back down again. And the new owner, even though they aren't spending a ton of money, they've spent it in the right places, signing guys like Michael Walker, signing guys like Seth Lugo, who's pitching tomorrow for them, getting a guy like Will Smith last year. They've got some really good additions that they've put into their rotation and into their bullpen, and they're spending money efficiently. So I like what Kansas City is doing, and I think they're going to be a playoff team again. By the way, we didn't mention that Bernie Miklasz is going to join us at the bottom of the hour in about 15 minutes. We will talk to Bernard J. Miklasz. One thing I know about Bernie, and there's a lot of great things about Bernie. One of my favorites is that he's a wing guy. And if you like wings, you're on Randy's with you. So Brooke is a wing person. I'm Team Brooke.
Yes.
So I'm Team Bernie.
Team Wing. We're also Team Wing over.
Team Wing. And the best wings are at the Fenton Bar and Grill on Rudder Road in Fenton, just 2 minutes away from the soccer park. And if you want the best wings that you will ever have, they're absolutely delicious. They're tantalizing. They're scrumptious at the Fenton Bar and Grill.
I like these words that you're using to describe this.
They're so good. And you see the golden sauce. That's their award-winning signature golden sauce that's being applied right there. I have a tendency, Brooke, to go with the ranch because I'm a Midwesterner, and I go with ranch for my wings, which is fine. The ranch is absolutely delicious with those wings as well. But there's so many great things to get. The chicken Caesar wrap is outstanding. They have great salads. They have great daily specials. If you want a fantastic burger, Fenton Bar and Grill is the place to go. On a day like today, before the rain hits, stop by there after your round of golf. Stop by to watch the Cardinal game tonight. If you have a business lunch coming up, the Fenton Bar and Grill, can't go wrong with that. And I can tell you, because I'm there about once a week, the service is fantastic. You'll love the people at the Fenton Bar and Grill. They're really cool people. All of them will treat you like you're royalty. Say hi to Megan when you walk through. Colleen is there. She does great work. Casey is wonderful at the Fenton Bar and Grill. Stop by and say hi. Again, 2 minutes away from the soccer park on Rudder Road in Fenton. Very easy to get to. The 2024 maitre d' of the year is Chuck. Your favorite neighborhood bar and grill. It's the dive with a vibe. It's the Fenton Bar and Grill. Tell them Randy sent you.
Ooh, it looks delicious. I want to get back to one thing with the Cardinals, because you mentioned how important the series is with the Royals. And then the Tigers, I think that is another big... we keep saying that, right? Like the Phillies, that's going to be the big series.
These three, though. Phillies, Royals, Tigers. Tigers have the best record in the American League, and they will. They're 3.5 games clear of the Yankees in the American League. So the Tigers...
And they've been red hot since August.
Right. Yeah. They've been playing great. So those, to me... And by the way, 3 days ago, the Royals were a lot hotter. I think they've won like 14 out of 23, even though they've lost 4 out of 5.
They've been playing well.
They have been playing very well. And we know how good the Tigers are. We know how good the Phillies are. So this was, even though big picture, this 9-game slice for me was important for me and my perception of what the Cardinals are capable of doing. By the way, if you haven't bought in on the chat, tell us what it would take for you to buy back into the Cardinals. I know that there are people that haven't bought back in, and I would like to know what it would take, aside from the Cardinals going out and spending $300 million on a player.
Yes.
For this particular group, what do they need to do to convince you that they're pretty good.
I was telling you that I feel like there's some fans who are waiting for the shoe to drop, because last night I was out at dinner getting some pizza, which was delicious, by the way. Pizzeria de Gloria. If you haven't been over there, amazing pizza. Took my parents for the first time. And there was a group of Cardinals fans actually behind us. They're Cardinals fans, one, because they're in St. Louis, and I'm assuming that, but two, they were also wearing some Cardinals gear, like what you have on right now, Randy.
Oh, this is great stuff.
Yes, that's fantastic. And I could
Cardinal
hear their
team store, by the way.
conversation because it was quite loud. So I wasn't just like eavesdropping like with my ear with what they were talking about. And they were talking about the Cardinals. And they're like, yeah, that series against the Phillies, that was great. But I just think it's a fluke. I think it's a fluke. Well, they'll really show themselves here soon. That was just a fluke. And that's what the whole table was talking about. A group of Cardinals fans was saying that they just believed that it was a fluke, that it wasn't real. And I feel like that's a sentiment that a lot of people have right now when you're talking about what is it going to take for you to buy back in. I feel like there's a lot of fans who are like, yeah, that was exciting, but I don't buy it. I don't buy what I just saw there.
I can see that, because while the Cardinals are only a game out of first place in the division, they're still not blowing anybody away. They're 24-20, which is wonderful. But if you look at the league standings rather than just the division standings, the Cardinals are 5 games behind the Doyers, who have the best record now. And they're right there with Arizona and the Giants. So that part of it is good. But I think a lot of people want to see the Cardinals be what they were in the 2000s when they were winning 100 games. Even 2015, when they won 100, people were pretty happy about that season. And when they won 105 in 2004 and 100 games in 2005, I think a lot of Cardinal fans have become accustomed to that. By the way, I need to know, where's the Jack Buck statue? And so somebody wants to know what the
Where is it? Oh, it's right there. Yeah.
It's the Cougar. It's the SIUC Cougar.
SIUE.
Yes.
SIUE Cougar. Excuse me. Sorry. The SIUC would be the Salukis.
The Suey Cougar.
Yes.
Okay. So
Suey.
this is Eddie the Cougar. Eddie the Cougar. So there you go.
It's a great mascot.
A good question.
Yes.
We are here to answer all of your questions.
We have
Adam Wainwright as a British Royal Guard.
Yes.
We have Drew Lock.
Yes.
We have a bolt from the St. Louis City Stadium when it was being built.
Cool.
The Jack
Very
Buck, SIUE Cougar, Slu Billiken,
Suey.
and Chris Barner.
Prongs. All good.
Prongs.
I'm not going to run through the entire background behind Brooke and Randy, though.
We could
There's
do
too
that
much.
one day. But now
I guess in the shot, you can see Bob Gibson, the MV3.
Vladdy.
And no, you can't see Vladdy. It's Bob Gibson, the MV3, and the new Mizzou basketball chips and the Blues goalie helmet.
One of the best and one of my favorites.
Not
the
in the
Springfield.
By the way,
cashew chicken.
if Brooke tries to pick up the Vladimir Tarasenko Blues one, it's really heavy.
I thought you were going to say that it's going to break or something like that. Randy.
Oh, Randy, that was a good one. I love a good
Come
Tubby.
on.
I love a good Tubby Sanko joke.
No, didn't you say that he would always be leaving with them some Palmanos?
Two giant bags of Palmanos to carry out. Yeah, after games.
I did not get to witness that, but yeah, he wasn't known for exactly being the most physically fit at times, but very, very talented. So we asked the question about what you're so hesitant about with the Cardinals, and Backhawk says, I want to see who the new manager is going to be. I don't believe Marmol is at the helm next year. That's a really interesting question, because we've discussed this before of Chaim Bloom. Is he going to want his guy in there? It happens all the time, right? When a new regime takes over, they want their guys in there.
Understandable.
But if you have this win streak that we saw happen, and if they are able to sustain some of the success and you're getting the most out of these younger guys, isn't that what Chaim Bloom wants too? I'm
interested to see how he goes about this. And he obviously knows Oli Marmol very well. And I obviously there's a chance, because usually every general manager, every Pobo wants their own guy, right? But if the Cardinals win 92 games and Oli does a really good job, I'm interested to see if the Cardinals stick with him. And does ownership say, hey, we just won 92 games and we're paying him next year. He's already under contract.
Yeah.
You got to keep him.
Yeah.
That could be. But I don't know what he wants either, because he obviously worked with Joe Madden and Kevin Cash in Tampa. And those guys were kind of allowed to do what they want. They weren't given a script. They weren't given complete free reign either, but they were allowed to manage. And then he went to Boston, And I got the sense that he and Alex Cora didn't get along, and maybe Alex Cora wasn't allowed to manage as much. But you look back, you look at what Alex Cora says now. It doesn't.
I was gonna say the recent comments with everything of like, well, he's not here anymore. The guy who made that decision,
right? Everything
that's going on with Devers, which that's a mess.
It is
by
a mess,
the way. But it seems like Cora put that on Chaim Bloom, even though he didn't say his name directly. I don't think, but it was clear. Did he say Bloom?
He said Chaim Bloom's not here anymore.
Yeah. So you could tell that there was probably some things going on behind the scenes there. But I don't know. I mean, I think that your point about the pay might be the clearest thing. And I know that that's something that everybody hates when we discuss with the DeWitts and the ownership and everything that's going on here. But if they do win 90 games, 90 plus games, and they're competitive, I don't think that was something that any of us were truly expecting this season, because all the talk was transition year, that there wasn't high expectations for this group. It was about young players. And they are getting a lot of the young players to play well, except for Nolan Gorman,
the two key guys,
and Jordan Walker.
Yeah.
And I had some people on social media, because we had that post on Sports Hub STL that you can see on X, on all our other social media as well, where I was giving Oli Marmol credit. And the comment I kept seeing over and over again is, well, he's not getting the most out of Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman.
Well, the scary part of this is he might be getting the most out of Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman. And I kind of touched on it at the beginning of the season that if you bat 500 with prospects and you get half of them to be good, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
And maybe the guys that are going to wind up being the best Cardinal players from this crop that they're giving runway to aren't going to be the guys that we expected it to be. Maybe it's going to be Ivan Herrera, Victor Scott II, Lars Nootbaar, Mason Wynn, Brendan Donovan, and maybe just maybe the guys Walker and Gorman, the two feature parts of this giving runway, maybe they just aren't that good.
And that's what I would hate to see happen. But you can't force it to happen at the same time too.
And I find it very difficult to say, but Oli isn't getting the most out of those guys. But then how do you explain Scott and Wynn and Nootbaar and Donovan and Herrera? You've got to either have it or not, right? I don't think you can say, well, he's not getting the most out of those guys, but he's doing pretty well with the others. I think sometimes it comes back to the player's abilities, physical, mental, emotional, and it's not as much the person in charge.
Yeah. A Real American Intelligence says, we fell for this last year when they got hot in June and then finished 83-79. No more banana in the tailpipe now if they are around 20 games over 500 or in first place with at least a 5-game lead. That seems to be the difference maker there. And I think that's where I was talking about earlier, where fans are saying, like I heard yesterday at the restaurant, that this is a fluke, that they're not fully bought in, because you have seen these blips in recent years where they get hot for a little bit and then it tails off, it cools off. And that's why we were talking about earlier, what is sustainable and what's not with this group. I think what's different compared to this year, though, Randy, is that last year it felt like the bullpen, which the bullpen is good right now, but the bullpen was the story. And offensively, they just struggled with runners in scoring position. They struggled to score in different ways. Mm-hmm. And it feels like this group is different.
Yeah. And last year, Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn did exactly what we expected them to do when they were signed. But they were both giving 5 innings with earned run averages of Lynn was almost 4, Gibson was 4.5. And the problem with those guys was the bullpen was throwing too many innings. If the starting pitching, big if, can prevent the bullpen from throwing a ton of innings, then they will have a chance. And you're right, last year, 16-12 in June. Really interesting, though, Brooke, to look at this team. August was really the month where everything fell apart. They were 13-13 in April, 13-12 in May, 16-12 in June, 13-12 in July, then 12-16 in August, and then 15-11 in September. You need to be over 500 every month, unless you're going to have an outrageous month like the Cardinals are having right now. But I agree with that sentiment that it very easily could be that once the warm weather hits, the Cardinals are not as good as they are right now.
Ellipsis 150 says, Cardinals first rounders don't seem to be great. Walker and Gorman are first rounders. All the others, it disappeared on me. Sorry, excuse me. All All the others were not in the first round. Cards have a lot of misses in the first round lately. And I see what Rockio put in the chat where it says it's almost like Major League Baseball draft is a crapshoot that takes 3 to 7 years to provide ROI, return on investment, which is true.
I just can't, like, people, I've seen this complaint like Plummer didn't work and Dalvin Perez was a bust. Okay, this is how the baseball draft works. Sometimes you get an all-star in the 9th round. Sometimes your first rounder is a 17-year-old who's never going to realize his talent. How is this a complaint that people actually have about this team right now? How is this a thing you're thinking about? Why is this taking up moments of your day?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fair question.
Well,
okay.
And I see them bring up, Ellipsis 150 brings up Zach Thompson. And I do get what you're saying about Zach Thompson, because if you remember, I'm trying to remember the full story of how just messy it was when they brought up Zach Thompson. They didn't put him in a great position. Wasn't he a guy that was kind of jerked around between the minors and majors? So yes, that's fair. Now, I think that also led to him where he went to the offseason and tried to do things on his own, possibly, of working with Driveline, and that seemed to really mess him up. Yeah. It just feels like I feel terrible for Zach Thompson.
I do too,
Is that fair? Is that it's just that maybe it was not the right approach of how they try to handle him?
Which team do you two feel is the best at drafting and developing in all of baseball? Who does the best job of drafting young players and then getting them to the majors and having them perform at a high level?
I think there's like a couple of them.
Let's go with one. Should we go with the Tigers?
We could go with the Tigers. Yeah.
Tigers have done pretty well. Okay, so let's just take a look, because the Cardinals obviously have those 2 first-round draft choices have not been great. But if we look at Tiger drafts, and Tigers have the best record right now in the American League, and if we look at their recent draft history, I wonder how much better. And by the way, they were drafting, they took people like Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson with top 5 picks. The Cardinals have not had a top 5 pick. They'll have one this year. But if we go back to 2015, the Tigers took a guy in the first round named Bo Burrows. Never heard of him. Guy with the 9th overall pick named Matt Manning. Guy with the 18th overall pick, Alex Faedo. Guy with the 1st overall pick, Casey Mize, who's having a good year. Riley Green at number 5.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple other teams, the Braves, you've mentioned them before as a team that's really great at drafting and developing, the Orioles, and then the Red Sox, which is encouraging because Chaim Bloom was a big part of really getting the most out of drafting and developing those guys.
And it is so much easier to identify really good players when you're drafting in the top 5 on a regular basis. And, the Cardinals have not done a ton of that, of drafting in the top 5. As a matter of fact, I don't think they've done any of that. Hey, we've got Sports Hub STL post game tonight after the game here on Sports Hub STL. Oh, by the way, you'll have Ryan Fagan and Joe Roderick on the Cards Hub 365 pregame. Sports Hub STL post game shows are brought to you by Hot Shots, and they invite you to come out to their St. Charles location on Sunday, June 1st to celebrate their 35th anniversary. The fun starts at noon with a parking lot party featuring the Clydesdales. Prizes are going to be given away all day. A dart tournament at noon, a bags tournament at 2, plus a chance to win Hot Shots tacos for a year. All you have to do there is win their taco eating contest. Congratulations to Hot Shots on 35 years. Hot Shots, St. Louis home for all the games all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. All right, Bernie Miklasz is standing by. He joins us at the bottom of the hour every Friday. And there he is, Bernard J. Miklasz. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, busy as always. I like it that way. It's all good. Looking forward to the weekend. How you all doing?
Doing good. Bernie, people are, we were just having the conversation about the Cardinals' first rounders. And it's not like they have drafted an Albert Pujols in the first round. But I do think, and I want to know if you agree with this, that where you draft in the first round is an extenuating circumstance. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that there's a reason why a lot of these teams have tanked, so they could get the premium, the most premium players in the draft. Like the Baltimore Orioles are a great example. Mm-hmm. And talking to my brother and Orioles fans, but yet they had all this premium talent because they tanked and they were awful for so long. and it's interesting. You look at them though. I know I'm getting sidetracked and I shouldn't. I apologize, but
No,
they don't know what to do with their team once they got it to a certain level. Now they're letting it fall apart because their general manager doesn't have the stones to make big moves, so they're just sort of letting the thing fall apart. So no, I mean, look at the Royals, the Royals team that has since 2014, they have won 2 pennants. The Cardinals haven't won any, and the Royals have won a World Series since the Cardinals last won their most recent World Series. So, and the Royals also have since 2014, they also have 22 postseason victories. That's 4th in the majors, and they didn't do that simply because everyone that works for them is brilliant, is a genius. No, a lot of it is because they tanked and they had some awful teams, but they got really good draft picks because they were in position to get some of the best guys. They also messed up a few too, but I don't think there's any question that there's a connection there. The Cardinals have done well later in drafts, like in the later rounds, but no, it helps to be able to get access to the guys that are considered the best, the top 5, 6, 7, 8 players in the draft.
Bernie, looking at this team right now, as you noted in your recent video, they have the National League's best record, 14-5 since April 25th. So it has been a fun turnaround to watch for this group. But we were discussing this earlier about what is sustainable about the success and what's not. Not like I'm trying to be a negative Nancy and find something that is exactly wrong with this group, but they are currently firing on all cylinders. You have the starting rotation doing well. You have the bullpen doing well, defense doing well, hitting doing well. Out of all of those, though, what is the most sustainable and what is not?
Well, I think maybe I don't know if I'm in a minority view on this or not, but I'm very bullish on the Cardinals offense because they're in the top 9 of every category you want to talk about in the majors so far this year. And that's without Walker or Gorman doing anything. And it's with Alec Burleson not doing anything for the first 6 weeks. And it's with Ivan Herrera missing 30 games. And yet they're 7th in the majors in runs per game. So I think the offense is really good. I think Brant Brown has made a tremendous difference too. Their habits at the plate are better. And that stuff lasts. I don't know why, Walker and Gorman can't get going. I know Gorman has worked really hard on his plate discipline, but his bat speed has slowed because he's, instead of like grip it and rip it, swing as hard as you can, he's trying to be more selective, and it's kind of affected his bat speed. I don't know. I wish I had a great handle on when we could expect some results, but I think the offense is, all things considered, is really, really strong. It could be a lot worse, and it could also be a lot better. Can you imagine if Walker and Gorman were just like average guys offensively, right?
Man, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm also a big believer in the bullpen because Oli Marmol and Dusty Blake, to their credit, they retooled this bullpen in a hurry. Like, it was obvious that Ryan Fernandez, they couldn't stick with him anymore. They sent him down to Memphis, and then they used that to just immediately, in effect, put a whole new bullpen together, and it's been great. April 25th is the turning point. They're 14-5 since then, and they have a phenomenal bullpen that is sealing games down and also keeping tie games close. And, the Cardinals were 0-5 in 1-run games before the bullpen moves. And since then, they're 6-1 in 1-run games. And that is a direct result from a better bullpen. So I actually believe in this bullpen. I really do. The starting pitching gives me a little cause simply because there's not a lot of swing and miss. And, they have to rely on a great defense. And the good news is the Cardinals do truly have a great defense, but there's an underlying vulnerability with this starting rotation. How long does the Miles Michaelis, magic potion last? Is Sonny Gray going to stop giving up home runs? Can Liberatore go from start to finish and be strong? He hasn't pitched, when you look about it, it's like he isn't used to pitching, going start to finish as a starting pitcher and, pitching 170, 180 innings. Is he going to hold up? I don't know what to expect from Eric Fetty. I don't always know what to expect from Palante. And it isn't that I'm, ripping these guys. I'm not. I just think that that's kind of a vulnerable area. And they're going to have to be careful with that. They're just going to have to be careful with that. And that's why it's really important with the offense to continue to put up a lot of runs.
Bernie, I'm going to take a sharp right turn here as we talk about the Cardinals and Nolan Gorman. I knew this, but I was just reminded of it. Nolan Gorman went to Sandra Day O'Connor High School in Phoenix, Arizona. And we can tie in.
And yet he bats left-handed.
That's a great point. We can tie in Sandra Day O'Connor with one of the great stories, maybe in all of sports history. So they were doing, they have the correspondence dinner in Washington, D.C. You're aware of Trey Wingo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trey Wingo's dad, Hal Wingo, was the publisher of People magazine.
Okay.
And invited John Riggins, the Washington Redskins running back, to the correspondence dinner. John Riggins was not a drinker. But, well, except for they had a shed, right? Were you ever at that? Did you see them use their shed?
Oh, yeah. I never, of course, no one was allowed in the shed. But, yeah. Right. I mean, I covered a couple of those Redskins teams. And, that shed was legendary. And they'd sit out there and drink beer after practice for hours. They would.
So Riggins gets invited to the correspondence dinner and starts drinking, has a couple of double scotches. They keep bringing wine to him. He doesn't eat, so he's really, really drunk.
Okay.
And he tells the governor of Virginia, "Gubernator, how you doing?" Sandra Day O'Connor, Supreme Court Justice, first female Supreme Court Justice. Sandra Day O'Connor has an appointment early the next morning. Okay, so she's getting ready to leave. John Riggins, drunk running back, goes up to Sandra Day O'Connor, looks at her husband, looks at her, puts his arm around her and says, "Lighten up, Sandy, baby. You're too tight."
I love that story.
Oh my gosh.
I covered him too. And it was a character. He called me Beef one time. I don't know why, maybe because I'm a big guy. But he said, "Well, Beef, I don't feel like talking right now." One of those deals, So, hey, by the way, you see now, Randy, you got me started on something. One of my favorite Joe Gibbs story, just an extraordinary coach. And for all the kids out there, when I mention Oliver North, they're going to be like, "Well, what? Who?" But at the time, Oliver North was probably the most famous person in the United States because of the Iran-Contra scandal. And Colonel North was in the middle of all that. And I'm telling you, Washington, D.C. was in a feeding frenzy. It just was, people were going absolutely bananas. So Colonel North showed up at a Redskins practice one day. And, I was there that day. And we thought, wow, this is like the most famous man in America at this minute. So we talked to Joe Gibbs afterwards, with a nice guy, and said, what do you that had to be cool to have Ollie North here at your practice today. And Gibbs well, yeah, but who was Ollie North? and we were trying to, I wasn't, I deferred to the Washington guys who had the long-term relationship with him, and they were trying to explain about all this stuff. He says, I didn't hear anything about that. And boy, so he's in the middle of all this stuff, huh? He's like the man under a lot of heat, huh? And I said, and we were going, yeah. Well, I never heard of him, and I'm sorry, but I don't know who he is. So, and this is in the nation's capital, right? So that tells you what a tunnel vision Joe Gibbs had. Anyway.
So Bernie, I think you've heard this story, and I've got two. Number one, the first time Joe Gibbs retired, the Redskins coaching staff is watching tape. I think it's the last game of the season. So they're getting ready for a road game, and they're watching tape from the home game. And Gibbs points at the screen, pauses it and points at the screen with somebody's back on the Redskin sideline. And he points, he says, "Who is that guy? What's he doing on our sideline?" And they said, the other coaches started laughing. He says, "What are you laughing at? Who is that guy?" And I think it might have even been Han. He said, "Coach, that's your son." He had no idea that his own son had grown up and was on the sidelines with him.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
No, that's what happened. He had no idea.
And Joe Gibbs took after Eric Coryell, who he worked for in San Diego, maybe in St. Louis first. I'm sorry, and then San Diego. In that Joe Gibbs absolutely loves loved and still loves his wife and sons, right? There's no question about that. But during the football season, he just had no focus or attention for anything. So his wife, Pat, would give him a cassette tape. Like when he'd come home after the game, and then, he's back to get to the office, Monday morning, like in the wee small hours of the morning. And his wife, Pat, she had recorded a cassette tape about 30, 45 minutes long, filling Joe in on everything that was going on with the family and their sons. And, Coy got an A in his chemistry test, things like that. And just go, he'd be driving. I'm driving out to Northern Virginia and listening to all the things about his family that he didn't know. And like Amazing. this went on for years. I mean, it's just football coaches can be awfully peculiar.
Yeah.
Right.
Bernie, the other one, and obviously I wasn't there, but I heard this story from somebody who was. Dick Vermeil's first year with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's having 3-a-days. Okay. And they were allowed, and it was early.
I was going to say that's like illegal.
They started training camp early. So they're in Philly, and they finished practice late afternoon, and fireworks start going off. And he's trying to answer questions, and the media is trying to ask him questions. And the fireworks are going for like 15, 20 minutes. And finally, Vermeil, and this is first year in Philly, talking about staying in your office. He says, "What the hell's going on here?" And they said, one of the writers had to say, "Coach, it's the country's bicentennial in Philadelphia, and it's the 4th of July."
I had no idea.
He had no idea.
And he was, and even before that, he learned what it was. But he was like saying, "Well, listen, we got it. One of our people's got to get in touch with the locals out there. They can't be setting off fireworks. We got to." Well, Coach, it's the 4th of July. Dick, this is a little bit of an it's kind of a gross story, but I asked Dick Vermeil one time, and I think he's one of the maybe one of the most 10 best people in the world. I said, "Coach, seriously, when did you know you were burned out in Philly, where it just got to the point where even you realized it was out of control?" And he said, "I had every minute budgeted during the day, every minute, and I stuck to it. I had a schedule and I stuck to it. And so there are times where, it was a little tight." He said, "So I got to the point where I knew that I had to go to the bathroom at a certain time every day, if you catch my drift." Right. And he said, "So I was kind of on schedule when I would have to go to the bathroom and sit there for a little bit." He started having his lunch brought to him before he walked into the bathroom to sit on the toilet. He would sit on the toilet and eat his lunch.
Oh,
so he could accomplish two things at one time.
Be efficient. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's amazing to me that he made it back to coaching. And we saw that intensity here, but it was just, he channeled it in a different way. What a wonderful man. But gosh, he was such a mess in Philly. And I say that with great empathy,
And Bernie, the way that I realized that he had come full circle and got back to normalcy, and he never got a chance to do that, really experience it here. But in his limo, on his way to Super Bowl 34, he didn't ride with the team. He rode in a limo. And from the back of the limo, he called all of his former Philadelphia friends that he could get in touch with to thank them for allowing him to be there that day.
That's nice.
Ron Jaworski and John Spagnola and Lynn Stiles was on his staff here already, but Carl Peterson, I think Leonard Toews was still alive. He called like a dozen people on his way to the stadium just to let them know they were part of what was happening that day.
Yeah, God, what a sweetheart. What a great guy. So glad he made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame too, because that meant so much to him.
Deserved. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get back to the Cardinals. We mentioned the Royals. Bernie, I'm really intrigued by the Detroit Tigers. They come in with the best record in the American League. They're up by 3.5. So they'll come to St. Louis with the best record in the American League. And there's a lot of things to unpack with them, but I don't think it's a small thing that AJ Hinch is their manager. He did it with a young team in Houston, and he's doing it with a young team in Detroit. And I think he's one of those guys where you say, Well, a lot of times we say a manager doesn't make a lot of difference. I think AJ Hinch is a guy that makes a lot of difference.
He does. And to your point, one of the things, okay, when his first managing job was in Arizona, he wasn't very good. And he was the first manager that I was aware of, because there was a big fuss made about it, that I was aware of, who, when he got his first managing job, he made it clear that, advanced metrics, analytics were going to be a big part of what he did. And, people were just laughing at him all the time. And so he got fired. And by the time, Jeff Luhnow had to look for his manager to hire, or maybe his second manager to hire, he just said, well, this is the guy, because we're going to be simpatico in terms of understanding how analytics can be really important if you know what you're doing with them. And so he was kind of a pioneer. And so I can't say I'm surprised at all that he's done so well in Detroit, because he's just a really smart guy. And he was not one of these managers that's so set in their ways they're resistant to change. They look like, no, I want all the information I can get. And from what I understand, he's not crazy about analytics. He's not obsessed with it, but he's one of those managers that knows, hey, give me all the information I can get, because that'll be an advantage for me. But he's very judicious about how he uses it. He doesn't try to force it on people. He just gives his players the info that they need. So, yeah, I think he's excellent. I really do.
Bernie, going back to Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman, as you mentioned, if they were performing well at the plate, that would just be perfect, because that's what the Cardinals were trying to accomplish this season, right? Is to get the most out of these young guys, especially Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman, because it's not every day that you can develop a right-handed power bat and a left-handed power bat, and that's why you don't want to give up on them. But have the Cardinals maybe found their answer in a right-handed power bat in Ivan Herrera, possibly, or a right-handed bat?
No, I mean, and then look at Victor Scott. Look, oh my goodness, how good is he? Transformation in 1 year, and he took all the schooling about what he had to work on, and he did it, and he's great. But listen, I'm almost mentally unstable when it comes to Ivan Herrera, in terms of how much like I adore this guy as far as what he's going to mean to the Cardinals franchise. He, can I throw you one stat? This just shows you, since the start of last season, there have been, this is among major league hitters that have had at least 300 plate appearances over that time, right? So Ivan Herrera, or Ivan, I always say that, Ivan Herrera has been the second best hitter in baseball since the start of 2024. If you go by OPS plus, or if you go by, pardon the gobbledygook, weighted runs created plus, which is just like OPS plus. It's adjusted for ballpark effects and all that stuff. Second best numbers. I mean, he was, and we're talking about a guy who's 23 last year, 24 this year. He's got phenomenal offensive talent, and he's not just a guy who's strong, which he is. He's very strong. But watch him work counts. Watch him work pitchers. Look at his patience. Look at the way he hunts for strikes, and then he does something with them. He takes a lot of walks. And for a big guy, I mean, he's as physically as imposing as a young Albert Pujols was. They're sort of built the same body types and everything like that. Ivan Herrera, for a big man, he runs the bases really well too. I mean, he's got good speed. There's nothing he can do, or there's nothing he can't do, except, and I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, the only thing he can't do is throw base stealers out. And I don't know that that's ever going to get better, because he's worked really hard on it and he still can't throw base runners out. Stealers, I meant to say. So that's why I hope they just say, you know what? Here, this is your bat. You're going to DH. We'll catch you on occasion. To me, they would optimize their offense by using him as the primary DH, and they optimize their catcher position defensively, but also having two catchers who can hit, in Pages and Pozo, and that way Herrera can just concentrate on hitting, but also he'll also avoid getting beat up. Like a guy who can hit that way, why would you want him getting battered behind the plate?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Good point.
I don't know.
Who's the best hitter in baseball, by the way, in the last 2 years? Was it Judge? Ohtani?
No, you won't like the answer.
Oh, okay.
What and the thing of it is, it might be Judge, because I was looking at a list, and you know what happened? I got blinded by the name Marcell Ozuna.
Oh,
so that was etched in my brain. So I'm like, no, he can't be at the top of the list.
Bernie, that was actually, if that production had occurred in St. Louis, that was a good trade.
Yeah,
I know you lost Gallen. I know you lost Alcantara, but the Cardinals needed that production that he's provided Atlanta, and the production that Ozuna has provided there. The player for player part of it, hard to find a hitter as good as Marcell Ozuna. It wasn't horrible. No,
and you know, I was in favor of the trade. And the one thing about me, Randy, you know this, I'm never going to be a phony and act like, oh yeah, at the time I said they never should have made that. I thought they needed an outfield.
I love that trade.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think we all knew that Alcantara had a chance to be really, really good, even special. But I always laugh at these people that bring up Zach Gallen as if the Cardinals knew they were trading away a future all-star site. They didn't even know what they had at the time. I mean, he was not prominent in the organization, but that's what happens when you trade prospects.
And Miami traded him too.
I know, right? There you go. But Ozuna had a couple of problems. One of which is that, and I do hold this against him. He still was dealing with a shoulder issue, and he never really told John Mozeliak how bad it was, so to speak. So he was limited. I mean, he did fine here, but he was kind of limited by the shoulder. And do you guys remember when Mo had to go before Ozuna's second season with the Cardinals, because he couldn't get a straight answer from Ozuna about the shoulder? And so Mo, to his credit, he just got on a plane and flew to the Dominican Republic to basically go check on him and kind of in a friendly way to confront him, just to see what he was doing. And Ozuna responded by getting down on a mat in his backyard and doing push-ups and doing all this and doing that, so he's a character, man. Yep. He's a character. I don't think that he was a particularly good fit with Mike Matheny that first year. No. So anyway, go ahead, Brooke. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Bernie, how busy do you think that John Mozeliak was having to deal with Carlos Martinez and Marcell Ozuna at that time?
And oh gosh, there's a couple stories that I cannot tell. But John Mozeliak, in terms of Carlos Martinez, there was so much going on and it never stopped. And then Ozuna and Carlos Martinez became buddies who went out together all the time. And there's only one or two times we know that led to a public disturbance, but there were other things that happened as well. So yeah, not a good situation.
Yeah. Bernie, before we let you go, we talked about Nolan Gorman earlier. He's got a career low home run percentage of 1.1, but his strikeout rate lower than it's ever been at 27.5%. His walk rate higher than it's ever been at 14.3%. His line drive rate, second best of his career, 24.5%. His fly ball rate, and you got to hit fly balls to hit home runs, 43.8%. That's the highest of his career. Have you done a deep dive? Do you know why Nolan Gorman is struggling with basically doing what he's supposed to do? I read that his bat speed is low. It's off
very
3
low,
ticks, but the numbers seem to be what the Cardinals would want from him in terms of strikeout rate, walk rate, fly ball rate.
Yeah, and there's two things here, and one of this would get back to what Brooke asked me about the vulnerability of the team, and I said the pitchers, and I'll explain another reason why the starting pitchers actually might be able to pull this off. So the two things on Gorman, and I talked to Oli Marmol about this because he brought it up. He said, "Yeah, I saw you had that note about how his bat speed has slowed," and it's true. He said, "But what you got to understand, we are working with him hard on being more selective at the plate. And it's a lot of times it's like, look, you can swing as hard as you want, but if you can't make contact, what's the point? So we want him to be more selective. We want him to be more cerebral. We want him to have a better control of the strike zone. And to your point, Randy, that's absolutely working. His chase rate is way down too. Mm-hmm. So, but it's also made him what's the word? I mentioned earlier, he's not gripping it and ripping it. He's sort of holding back a little bit. No, he just wants to be under control, I think is the best way to put it. But the other thing, he's got that huge fly ball rate, which is exactly what you want from him. But the bad news about that, at least so far, it's really interesting information. Fly balls so far in 2025 are traveling less distance than they have been the last couple of years. So in other words, Major League Baseball has fooled with the ball again. They can never stop changing the baseball. So on average, fly balls are traveling between 5 feet, 7 feet shorter than they were last year. Now that might even up over when the weather gets warm and all that, but his fly balls aren't carrying as well. And it's not just the bat speed. It's also just the fact that they're not carrying as well, unless you're Aaron Judge or something. They're not carrying it well for a lot of hitters. And pitchers like that because something that might be leaving the yard is actually caught on the warning track now, So I think those are the two things.
Okay. Good stuff. There's always good stuff with you. Have a great weekend, sir.
Well, my favorite time, I also love story time. You and I get to do story time every week, too.
It's a lot of fun. Bernie, by the way, Brooke this is her last day before she has the baby. So you get to say so long to Brooke for just a while.
I've always been, every time I've done this the last three times, at some point, like soon thereafter, I always say, oh man, how come you didn't say anything to Brooke about the baby on the way? So because I'm talking about stuff like WRC plus, weighted runs created plus. That's why I'm kind of nuts that way. But anyway, you can't wait to see the young one. Are you gonna have them? You're gonna be doing live streams holding the baby?
Oh gosh, no. Yeah, no, none of that. I'll take a little bit of a break, but yeah, he'll be watching. He'll be watching. That's for sure.
Well, Uncle Randy, you got to make sure you get Uncle Randy to help out too if you need some help.
Yeah.
Like as the little one starts to progress.
I'll be the fun uncle.
The one that gives him candy and hypes him up. Yeah.
Right.
Says it's all yours.
And encouraging the child to be naughty. Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You do that. So no, God, blessings to you, Brooke. So
thank you so much, Bernie.
Early congratulations. All right, take care.
All right. Good.
See y'all.
Have a great weekend, my man. Take care. See you later. That is Bernie joining us every Friday here on the Randy Karraker Show. He is a part of our Sports Hub STL family. And by the way, you can check out his work at sportshubstl.com. Hey, with baseball season here, we got great interleague action going on. And I'm set up today for my DraftKings Pick 6, Brooke, and this is going to be fun. So you've got it's rivalry weekend. Cardinals, Royals. So I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado to hit a home run against the left-hander Riggins tonight in Kansas City.
Okay.
And then I'm also going to go with Pete Crow Armstrong, Greg Amsinger's new favorite player. He's going against the White Sox today at home. So Pete Crow Armstrong to hit a home run and Nolan Arenado to hit a home run. You can play DraftKings Pick 6 too. And all you need to do is pick 2 to 6 players and choose if they'll have more or less of a statistic, like I just did with 2 guys with home runs. Okay. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, plus Georgia, California, Texas, many more. You can check it out at the app. When you get the app, just download the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Use that promo code STL Sports and cash in on your baseball knowledge. If you're a new player, you get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just one single $5 entry. It's fun. It changes the way you watch sports, and you'll have a great time and get some cash in the process. It's DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Now it's time for the Grim Report. So there's an interesting video that MLB.com put out, and they put out on X, of Ryan Dempster going undercover outside of Busch Stadium, and he wears, a wig and everything. Have you ever watched that show Undercover Bosses?
I have. Yeah, I like it.
You have watched that show?
Mhm.
So it was almost like that, where it's a really bad wig, and it's like, why would you have to put on a whole ensemble like that? But Ryan Dempster goes undercover outside of Busch Stadium to see if anybody would recognize him, and spoiler alert, nobody did.
Oh, no.
So here's the video.
Come on in.
Let me be the weird uncle.
You may ask yourself how I ended up in Cardinal red. You see, in my 16 years as a major league pitcher, St. Louis was one of my biggest rivals. I wanted a hotel close to the ballpark. I got one. Thanks, Booking.com. I wanted to go undercover and experience the other side of the rivalry.
Can anybody tell me who Albert Pujols hit the most home runs off of in his career?
I think I'm Ryan Dempster.
Ryan Dempster!
Roger, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Thank you. Cardinal fans.
Here's advice for the Chicago fans.
Yeah.
Keep quiet.
They said a lot of bad words, but it was good.
A lot friendlier rivalry than Boston and New York.
I wouldn't say hate because it's the Midwest. Nobody hates that. Like discontent. That's a good word. I'm gonna put that in my vocabulary. Here you go.
It was time to reveal my true identity. I'm the undercover rival. How y'all doing? Ryan Dempster. I went from the weird uncle. He kind of liked the weird uncle.
The undercover rival. Now, just take a guess about what the comments say. Just take a guess what the comments say. They say, did he need to go undercover? We also have a comment that already came in that said, I wouldn't have recognized Ryan Dempster if he was wearing a Ryan Dempster jersey. So it made me think, if there was a former player that was a rival, and he is a rival of the Cardinals, of course, but I just think maybe people would not, he didn't need to go with the bad wig, right? He could have just shown up as himself. But if there is somebody who would have to go undercover that is a rival of the Cardinals, who would it be? If they needed to be around Busch Stadium, they would need to go in disguise.
I think old school, you'd probably go Keith Hernandez,
That's a good one.
because, everybody knows what he looks like. But let's see, who else?
I was thinking, like, even though a current player, Pete Alonso,
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good one.
he's a very recognizable guy and recent. I think
Yeah.
you would have to almost do a recent
I
guy
Oh, you only
or
doing
a very
baseball?
recognizable
Yeah.
face.
We only doing baseball?
You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
because you could, drive Rodney Harrison down to Market and Tucker, have him get out of the car, and someone will scream an obscenity at him within 7.5 minutes. In fact, I would put money on somebody throwing a tomato at him, if only because I'm pretty confident I can get from my house to the corner of Market and Tucker in 7 minutes with the tomato.
to do it.
To do it, because I hate Rodney Harrison, and I would happily throw a tomato at him if he ever was in St. Louis. Tried to play this. You wouldn't. He's been on national television enough. Everyone knows he's a scumbag.
Mhm.
You'd figure out pretty easily if it was Rodney Harrison or not.
Okay, how about Johnny Cueto?
Oh, Cueto's a
That's
great
a good
one.
one. That's a good one. Another one, Nazem Kadri, not baseball related, but very recognizable.
Yeah,
I think that's another good one. We have Talking with the Soul says Chris Bryant,
yeah,
Brandon
that's a really good one.
Phillips.
Yeah,
and then Ellipsis 150, Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, I mean, I know that he's kind of played it off, the rivalry, but because of everything that's happened with him, to me, I think that he is one of the most hated players recently.
I
And then
agree.
the Stubby clap incident too just sticks out in your head of Stubby, who's not a big man. If you haven't been able to see Stubby in person,
Took him down.
Stubby is a smaller guy,
Mhm.
but strong, clearly
Yeah.
taking down Pete Alonso when that scuffle happened.
yeah. So I think that's it's a fun thing for them to do at Booking.com. Maybe they should have got somebody who's a little bit more recognizable, though.
What was your
There's
first thought when you saw that? I'm like, did he need to do that?
Yeah, he didn't need to do that. Yeah, I think the Dempster jersey is a great idea.
I couldn't pick Ryan Dempster out of like a lineup of former Cardinals of former Cubs pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not in a million years would I be able to just pick Ryan Dempster out of a lineup. An
Yeah,
insane choice by Booking.com.
It was kind of funny because, I mean, even the wig was terrible. So it's not like they were trying to really make him be unrecognizable, but then people, of course, still didn't
Mhm.
recognize who he was.
Yeah.
So maybe they should just have him show up in
Yeah.
his own jersey.
The problem with this one is they're correct. We've got a couple that said if you dress up Sammy Sosa, it'd be
Oh,
good.
yeah.
The problem with that is that recognizing Sammy Sosa is kind of a game within itself right now.
No, what do you mean?
You know what I mean.
What do you mean? He's changed.
Yeah.
He's definitely changed.
By the way, this one ripped from the headlines. 29 years ago today, 29 years ago on this very day, Steve Yzerman beat John Casey over Casey's left shoulder in double overtime. I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's going to ruin your day. And the Detroit Red Wings eliminated Wayne Gretzky and the St. Louis Blues in Game 7.
That's kind of a sad memory.
Steve Yzerman could walk around Enterprise Center, and I would recognize him, and I would punch him in the face.
You can't punch people in the face, Randy. I thought you've worked past this anger wise.
Well, but with him, it's a little different. St. Louis City police officers, if you're watching or listening, please join on the chat and tell us if Randy would be allowed to punch just once Steve Yzerman right in the kisser.
Is that the one person? I don't know. I was going to say, if that's the one person.
That's not the one.
If you had an opportunity between him or Stan Kroenke.
Yeah, Stan Kroenke. Easy.
Stan Kroenke would have to be.
Demoff would be ahead of him.
If we're talking about, really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You hate Demoff more than Stan Kroenke, even though he was just kind of Kroenke.
Demoff would be ahead of Steve Yzerman.
Okay, so if it was an order, if we did top 5 of people that you would want to punch, and they would also have to wear a disguise in St. Louis.
Yeah. Demoff lied a lot. Kroenke only lied a little.
So it'd be Kroenke, Demoff, and then who's right after that?
In history?
Whatever, yeah.
Oh, this is a really good one.
Of who Randy will punch. And this is like, if we could bring back Angry Randy. He worked on getting this version of him away, but we're bringing it back to the surface.
Okay. I would probably go, who was really annoying was Howard Johnson, the third baseman for the Mets. The Mets were very hateable in the 80s.
Yeah.
So Hojo would be one of those guys.
Oh, man. I honestly feel like you could have gotten – I just thought of this one. Take away, like, pre-Berkman's run here.
Yeah.
I feel like you could have got a really good run of, like, Berkman being hated by people here in St. Louis. Any of the killer bees. Biggio, Bagwell, Roy Oswalt, I feel like. There's a group of people that hate him.
Those were really nice guys.
They were.
Really super. That was like – one of my favorite teams ever to cover was that Houston Astros.
It was the same thing. It was like, as a kid, I kind of hated Beltran. And then by the time I'm 18, he's one of my favorite players in Major League Baseball as he's playing for the Cardinals.
So I have a nephew that got drafted by the Yankees, and it was either in his rookie year or his second year, minor leagues. Beltran during spring training takes every single Yankee minor leaguer and has a big dinner for him.
That's nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. And, really just talks about what it's like to be a big leaguer. And
Scherzer did something like that too, right?
Right.
When he was rehabbing, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all of the really nice guys, when they go down for rehab, they buy dinner for the players in the clubhouse. And one time, I don't remember who it was. Chris Duncan's brother, though, he had been in the big leagues and was down in the minors. He was on a rehab stint. Might have been Travis Lee. I don't know I think he was with the Yankees at that time. And so Travis Lee's there for the first 3 or 4 days. It's his last day of his rehab assignment, and he still hasn't bought all the minor leaguers dinner. Mm-hmm. So Shelly Duncan buys steak dinner for everybody, has it delivered to the clubhouse. And all the players are thanking, I think it was Travis Lee, thanking him for having, I think it was Outback delivered.
Yeah.
And they're thanking him, and he didn't buy it. Shelly Duncan did. So Shelly Duncan's just sitting there laughing because Lee is accepting all of the thank yous, even though he didn't do a thing for the minor leaguers.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, not amazing that he did, that he got credit for it when he shouldn't have. Yeah. Real American Intelligence says Joey Votto, who said he would never play for the Cardinals ever. But doesn't he seem kind of, even though he said that,
fun guy,
a likable guy, I feel like.
Yeah, he is a likable guy.
He has a good balance of where you could have that rivalry, but then at the same time be likable. Yeah. I keep seeing John Mozeliak would be another person who would have to go undercover. We've discussed this before because Jeff Albert. Remember Jeff Albert had mentioned where a fan, was it a fan
mm-hmm.
or
did this
happen several times where somebody came to his house? I've actually always wondered that with Mozeliak, what that's like for them and their family members.
Can you imagine? It's got to be just
because especially in this day and age of social media, I get if you don't like something that somebody mm-hmm. does, right? But some people take it a step too far. And I feel like there's a lot of people who don't believe that. Like I've heard from athletes where their wives and girlfriends even have to, like, they have to turn off comments, or that people will message them. Like people will go so far to figure out who's even close in your life.
Did you see Lance McCullers last week? Had a bad outing, and he got his life threatened, and his family was threatened.
And some people say, "Oh, it's not that. It is that serious. It's scary." So I wonder. I know that a lot of people are not big on John Mozeliak right now, but I wonder what that's like for him, and if he when he's out in public, what the interactions are like.
The nuttiest people, and our buddy Charlie Marlowe might not agree with this, but the nuttiest people are Ohio State fans who did threaten the life of Ryan Day. Remember, EJ Liddell from the area, from the east side, played for Ohio State, had a bad game in the NCAA tournament, and they threatened his life. I don't know if they ever succeed in killing people, but it's bad enough that they're threatening people's lives. It's a bad thing. So Chris Sabo hit a grand slam in the 14th inning against us in my very first game I went to. Never forgot that. Chris Sabo wound up playing for the Cardinals too.
That's so that's a random throwback.
It is.
Yeah.
I thought if you aren't aware of it, it's a fun thing to research on the interwebs. Ted Kaczynski, aka the Unabomber, when the sketches of the Unabomber came out, they looked just like Chris Sabo.
What?
I thought Chris Sabo.
I've heard about.
All right, wait, no. Now I got to do a comparison of this because I don't even know. Okay.
Yeah, they did. So Chris Sabo wore the goggles and everything. He was wearing like the aviator sunglasses. Yeah, it did. It looked like Chris Sabo.
Wow.
So I get your disdain.
Did you call the FBI to report him?
I did not.
We got I think maybe one of the best ones. If we're just talking about who do you put in a disguise and make them go meander into a crowd of St. Louis fans, Eric Muskop has the best answer. Can you imagine the reveal as Mike Keenan is surrounded by Blues fans who've been hanging out with him for the last hour, and then you reveal that it's Mike Keenan?
Yeah.
That gets a response.
that would get a response. Now, Spencer says daily death talk. You're right. And food is coming up too. So we're checking off the two staples of the show.
We're going to get to Sports Scrub STL. No doubt, no question about it. But by the way, the Battlehawks also play this weekend. If you're not aware of that, the Battlehawks taking on the defending champion Birmingham Stallions tomorrow at the Dome. It's a noon game. Tickets are available. And tomorrow is going to be a spectacular day to tailgate. Or in the morning. It'll be so much fun. And you need to check out all the Battlehawks knowledge we have here at Sports Hub STL. Check out Battlehawks Hub Weekly, now available on the Sports Hub STL YouTube page with Luke Slabaugh and Judy Strotter as they get you set for the season. Battlehawks coverage here on Sports Hub STL presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. With the new Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken Battlehawks box, you can score up to 30% off Battlehawks tickets, plus get 4 of their famous breast strips and a side of potato wedges for just $8.99 only at Lee's, famous for chicken. And Brooke, you've got arguably the two best defenses in the league here with Birmingham and St. Louis. This will be, as Coach Spoonhour used to call it, it'll be a taffy pull. So I think it'll be a great game tomorrow, and I hope folks can get out there and check it out. And even if you can't, if you're going to be watching the game at home, head on over to Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and get those 4 chicken breast strips and potato wedges. I've had them. They are delicious, and you can get up to 30% off tickets if you do that. So go tonight to get the Battlehawks box and then buy tickets for tomorrow. You'll have a budget weekend, and it'll be great. You'll have a great time.
Delicious. It looks delicious. It always does. It's all, I always wonder why I need chicken after I get done with this show, and it's because I see this and the Fin Bar and Grill wings, and so it's like subliminal messages happening right now.
No doubt about it. Hey, we are excited here at Sports Hub STL about the STL Sports Show taking place May 30th through June 1st at the Doubletree in Chesterfield. And Joe Yancey from the St. Louis Sports Show joins us now here on the Randy Karraker Show. Joe, good to see you. How you doing?
Likewise.
We're excited about the people that you have coming in, some really big names. Tell us about who some of the guests are going to be.
Yeah, so there's a variety of folks from different sports. We've got a couple Mizzou guys, one who is now an NFL player, 7th pick with the New York Jets, Armand Mimbu. Kevin Coleman Jr. should be the new number 1. A lot of talent on that, receiving corps, but looks like he'll be the number 1 based off his production last year. Coming home for his senior year. Ryan O'Reilly, obviously fan favorite, captain, delivered the cup. Grant Fuhr, legend, Hall of Famer, 5-time ring winner. A bunch of other guys coming from City SC as well. Berkey, he came back. So he's back in the fold, as well as Toy Shirt Hartel, Jonas Horn. A lot of folks showing up. So, the idea is we want to merge these athletes so the folks can get their items signed, take photos, meet and greet. And there's also a heavy presence on youth sports and the importance of that mixed with academics and keeping young people active. So,
yeah, this is a really stacked lineup. As soon as you started listing off the names and I was looking at the names, I'm like, how can anybody just not miss this event? Because it seems like it's perfect. You have a little bit of everything for every single sports fan out there. Yep. And the biggest thing I noticed is free admission too.
Yeah, that is a big deal. And there's great shows in the area, and some charge and some don't. There's a lot of folks that have done this previously and some still do it currently, and they all do a great job. The industry is very, very close, and we wanted to do something similar. We didn't want to charge for the entry. There's vendors, food trucks, and some other surprises and some other really cool events. But we want folks to be able to come and shop the vendors. Baseball card dealers and things like that are kind of the status quo. But there's some other vendors that have some really cool, neat, exciting things. Obviously, meet and greet your favorite athletes. Again, the youth sports org, Make-A-Wish is going to be on site, and they'll talk about their mission and some of the things that they do. St. Louis Ambush, huge sponsor. Great branding partner, and they also are launching their outdoor youth soccer club. So a lot of really, really cool things, and we hope everybody can come out.
And Joe, if people go to stlsportshow.com, they can also see the VIP packages. What do those entail?
So VIP is going to provide you an item. Generally speaking, it's going to be a custom jersey. You can also swap and replace that with your own personal item, or if you've got something you've been sitting on that you really want it signed, or you want to go out and get it and bring it in, you can. You'll also be first in line. That'll provide a standing pose photo, with a custom backdrop that is specific to that player. So it's a really cool item because it provides kind of an all-in-one, all-inclusive. But even if you go with your own personal item, or you want a mini helmet, or you want a soccer jersey from us, we provide those as well. And that's all baked into one price. If you use some of the codes, there's a bunch of promo codes out there. The most recent one that gives you the best value is Flash25. You use that as a promo code. It's going to save you 25% on anything you buy. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at this right now. And as we mentioned, you're getting a little bit of everything sports wise, and you have a Mizzou combo package. You have a City SC combo package. You have a premium soccer package and blues package. So it's a little bit of, if you just want specifically one thing, then you can focus on that. But I mean, there's so many options available for people who go to this.
You bet. There's also an all access that gives you a signature from everyone. It's a commemorative, like kind of 11 by 17, like your standard movie poster size. And that's just kind of a custom mock-up that we've made, which will provide a photograph of every single player in attendance. That's a great value as well. So it's really just based on what you like. Next time we run this thing, the Cardinals won't be out of town. Yeah. So we'll have some Redbirds there, right?
Yeah.
Predominantly, probably current, maybe some retired folks as well. But it's a baseball town, but it's still also a hockey town. And lately, a soccer town, evident by maybe the record's not where it needs to be, still sell out.
Yeah.
So come see those guys too. Yeah, they're cool.
And you mentioned youth sports. I want to just dive a little bit deeper into youth sports. What will that entail over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, so you've got just various booths, kiosks. They'll have some custom setups. They'll talk about, how you can get involved, how you can enroll your child, and their various sports leagues, what they do for the community. There's also a large equipment, gently used donation drive.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
So that's going to go to an outreach program. We'll have large bins out front. So if you're coming up, please drop off whatever you have. Really under-resourced families, league specific if they need items. There's not a whole lot we personally can do with it, but we want to use that as kind of a podium to bring that information or bring that gear in and then get it distributed back to the community.
One thing, Joe, is as card collecting is becoming a big thing again, has that been directly tied to like a bigger amount of people and a bigger attendance at some of these sports shows?
It is, yeah. So card dealers, there's so many of them. Like, I don't know how deep anyone here gets into it, but like you won't find a Pokemon card anywhere, right? And it kind of merged more than ever. There was like a Pokemon sector, there was a comic sector, there was a baseball card specific, and then hockey and basketball and all these things. And now it's just cards. And it is easily the biggest part of that memorabilia kind of hobby, trade collecting piece. So we'll have a bunch of card dealers there. I'm personally not a big card collector. My son is. I'm memorabilia. Like flats, photos, jerseys, helmets, things like that. But Cards are cool. It's definitely the thing. It's a huge market. I mean, it is killing it. And if you're in that business, you're probably doing pretty well. But we'll have a bunch of them there so you guys can shop those and you'll have a good time.
And I'm not a huge autograph guy, but I do like to shake people's hands, and I like to get to know people. And if you can get that photo, that's a pretty cool deal too. I love the fact that you have both of those available.
Yeah, if you just want to meet and greet and talk and say hello and, shake their hand and, I named my dog after you, you're my favorite player, whatever you want to do, you can do those things. If you want a signature only, if you want to combine the two, you can do those pieces. A lot of the dealers and some of the folks that are coming from out of town are staying. It's actually attached to the Chesterfield Athletic Club. It's a huge outdoor canopy, modernized, right? Like HVAC and Wi-Fi and TVs and all those things. But there's a lot to do in that area. And if you're familiar with Chesterfield, and a lot of folks probably are, there's a lot of things you can do. We have events that'll happen throughout the entire weekend. We start Friday night with Grant Fjord. It's a shorter day, shorter run. Saturday and Sunday, it really starts to kind of pop off, and you've got kind of a full lineup there.
Should be a great weekend. Again, it is May 30th through June 1st at the DoubleTree Hotel in Chesterfield. Go to stlsportshow.com and that promo code again that you just gave us.
Flash25.
Flash25 if you want to be part of it. Joe, good luck. Thank you so much with it. We appreciate it. We appreciate what you do in terms of bringing sports to St. Louis.
You bet.
Joe Yancey from the STL Sports Show. Great to have him with us. And there is the information. And if you want to check it out, all you need to do is go to stlsportshow.com. A lot of cool stuff happening. And like he said, not only do you have the Hall of Famers like Grant Fjord and the Conn Smythe winner like Ryan O'Reilly. I met Kevin Coleman a couple of weeks ago. What a nice young man he is. And I think people will enjoy talking to Kevin Coleman as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of great guys. Ryan O'Reilly is amazing with fans too, by the way. So if you're going to just see one of these specific players, this is such a great group of guys. And I'm kind of jealous because I won't be able to go. I could stack up on some autographs too, but no, can't do it because that will be the weekend for me where a lot of the stuff will be happening.
So you're gonna.
I can't get autographs yet for my baby boy.
It's well here, Brooke. It's May. It's the first week. You're gonna.
I think it might be too early for me to get out.
He'll be a week old.
Yeah,
already.
Week old and already getting him into sports.
Yeah. I don't think he'll. I don't think he'll have much choice with you.
No, he will not. He really will not. My husband is actually not the biggest sports fan, which is why I think that we've worked out so well. And so my dad and I are going to really push that really hard.
Oh, good.
About sports. Yes.
Okay. Do you guys have a piece of memorabilia, whether it be sports or not, that is signed or not, that you really cherish?
I'm kind of like the same way where, like what you said with Randy, that you don't have many autograph things because, especially professional wise, once I started getting into sports journalism, then I didn't get anything signed because then it feels weird. One that I do have prior, just being a young fan, is an Eddie George signed jersey.
Ooh.
So nice. I think that's something that's like near and dear to my heart.
Is it that one? White or the baby blue home jersey?
White.
Oh.
Yeah. It's fine though.
And when Jack Buck was alive, he had Amity draw a print with everybody that he had broadcast that was in the Hall of Fame or he thought was going to be in the Hall of Fame. So it's got Brock, Gibson, Shane Dienst, Musial, McGuire, Ozzie, and what Jack did to raise money for charity was had 1,500 of these made, and I think he sold them for like $250 a piece to raise money for charity. But he couldn't get everybody to sign him and then just give one away. So he gave me one that is just signed specifically to me. So that's, you walk into my basement, the first thing you see is that photo of those Hall of Famers and Jack's drawing is on there too, that he signed for me.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty
cool. That's
one.
really cool. I think if there is one thing during my career that I would get signed that I was a part of is the Stanley Cup run for the Blues. And there's a photo that was everywhere. It was on ESPN. People were sending it to me. And it's a photo of when Colton Parayko was celebrating the cup with Layla Anderson on the ice. And I'm annoyingly in the background because I was doing a live report waiting for Colton Parayko to have his moment. But I'm like right there. Like it's Colton Parayko and Layla Anderson celebrating the cup together. And I'm like right behind them. And maybe one day I'll ask Colton for a signature on that. Cool. But and Colton's super nice. Yeah. Like he would be great about that stuff. But maybe later on, I would ask him for that. But that would probably be like one thing I would get signed.
How about you, Matthew? Do you have one?
I have nothing sports-wise that's really valuable that's been signed. The one thing I do have, though, is my senior year in college is when the last Game of Thrones book was released.
Wow.
The 5th book of the series, so there's supposed to be 7 of them. Get working, George. Was released in July 11th, 2011, I want to say. Right before my senior year in college started. Or I guess a year before my senior year in college started. A friend of mine was interning at, I think Penguin Books is where the publisher was. And they gave all the interns signed copies of the 5th book. She came back to school that year knowing that I was obsessed with the series.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I need to start reading the series. And I was like, I'll give you all 5 of my copies. She goes, sure, I'll give you my signed one. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Read the copies and you can just give them back to me. She's like, no, I know how much you like it. So she gave me a signed copy of the 5th book.
That's cool.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I keeping it as a bookmark, the placard at my place when I broadcasted an NCAA tournament game for the Tigers.
Oh, cool.
Because I haven't got to do that yet. I don't know if I'll ever get to broadcast an NCAA tournament game over the radio. So that's the bookmark inside the one thing I have that's kind of cool signed.
That's awesome. That's great.
Here's the photo, Randy. Well, there's a better one that ESPN posted, but there's me.
You know, another one, by the way, from the Stanley Cup is, and I don't know if Ben Bishop would want to sign it, but the Bishop and Maroon shaking hands with the St. Louis flag in the background.
Yeah, and that's over at Centene Community Ice Center. They have that on the wall there. That's a beautiful photo.
Could we get you back into the chair to tattoo his signature onto your Stanley Cup tattoo?
No.
Damn it.
Really? No. Okay.
I was like, if we could get like Ryan O'Reilly to put his signature,
he was quick with that.
Add that as a tattoo, you wouldn't do it.
The only thing that I will add is when the Blues win their next Stanley Cup, if I'm still with you, I will have another sash applied with the year that they won the second one.
Now, see, I love that because in soccer they do stars above the crest on your jersey when you win World Cups or you win leagues. They'll put stars above the crest. Add a sash to the cup. I love that.
Always back to death. You said if you're still with us, Randy. Aren't they coming out with a pill that supposedly will make people live longer, or was that dogs? I can't remember.
It's a different pill.
Oh, okay, Randy. But we'll give you one of those, or we'll do. I feel like one of your favorite stories is when people their heads are frozen. Mm-hmm. We can do that to you so you can live on.
That'd be fun. Okay. Go ahead and do it. I won't feel it.
Yeah, the problem with that is though we have to keep his shoulder frozen. We have to keep like the upper chunk of his torso connected to the head.
So I wanted Brooke's baby, which hasn't been born yet, to kick her even a little bit more. So that's why we got gooey butter cake.
He's gonna have a party.
Get the little fella going.
Yeah, he loves. You know what? It's 3 a.m. is when he likes to do this. So for overarching, and by the way, we're enjoying this. This is delicious. Gooey butter cake, amazing. Now imagine with more sugar, Randy. And that's a chest pie for you. Okay. We're gonna have to get you one of those one day. Okay. I'll have my mom whip it up while she's still here. But for overarching today, there is a guy out there who might be the worst fan in all of sports. We might have finally found the guy. So this video is going viral on social media right now. He was a Cowboys fan and had a giant Cowboys tattoo on his back. Speaking of back tattoos, this guy had a giant Cowboys tattoo on his back, but then he decided to change it to a different team. Do we have that video, Rockio? Well, you'll watch us eat this while we get that video. So enjoy that.
Sports Scrub STL.
I teased it, and now you're gonna see us watch us eat this cake. It is good.
Schnucks has great gooey butter cake.
They really do. Yeah. Does this say that it has 700 calories?
It might.
Randy,
big deal.
They literally, man, they're making it clear to you how many calories you're about to consume with this.
Well, and this is the small one.
700 calories for this?
But we aren't having 700.
That really shouldn't surprise you. It's pure sugar.
700 calories for this slice.
All right, we're ready for the worst tattoo in the world.
Worst fan in the world?
Or fan in the world.
I say all cover-ups $160. You better bring me a project.
This is a cover-up for one. It's a huge tattoo.
What you doing?
It's okay. I have fun with this though.
I've been to a lot of tattoos in my
You have to
life.
shave it first.
I know what tattoos are.
Did anybody else claim? Yeah, but if I charge you more than $160, it wouldn't go viral, right? This is why I do
Dallas
what I do.
Cowboys blue helmet.
Yes, because I love to do it.
That is so much ink.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
they
is
show love
so
sometimes.
big.
That's a big tattoo.
That is a fat tattoo. The words are huge. The helmet is massive.
Oh yeah, he did come in here and tell us that.
Your Stanley Cup tattoo is like the star on the helmet.
They wouldn't touch it.
I won't touch it.
That's
He's got like 9 of those. We might get. We might get trouble for that sound. I just didn't know. Sounds copyright.
Oh, here, Randy.
Oh my.
Oh my God.
So, why is he the worst fan in all
went from the
sports?
Cowboys
He went
to
from
the
the Cowboys enough where he loved the team where he got a tattoo of it.
Yep.
And now he has bandwagoned all the way over to being a Chiefs fan.
That is crazy and it's dumb and I don't like it.
You don't like it whatsoever.
So
I
angry
like
at
leaving
this
the
guy.
Cowboys, but I don't like getting the tattoo.
I'm so angry at this guy. You go from bandwagon to bandwagon?
Yeah, it's not good.
How much is it gonna?
I think
Well,
that
but was he really a bandwagon fan
for the Dallas Cowboys.
for the Cowboys, who haven't been to an NFC Championship game since 1995?
I appreciate because they call it America's team. So there are a lot of Cowboys fans all over the US.
Yeah, I know.
I will say I do see a lot of Cowboys fans everywhere, but then all of a sudden you ditch it and you decide that you're going to be a Chiefs fan. And so I was thinking about this. What team has the most bandwagon fans? And I think it honestly might be the Chiefs. I know that we were talking about these the other day about how St. Louisans feel like the Chiefs are shoved down their throats, and that if you're a St. Louis Chiefs fan, then you're a bandwagon fan. And I think the Chiefs, because of how exciting they are, and it happens with any team that's doing well, right?
It happened with the St. Louis Rams.
You'll get a lot of bandwagon fans. I think currently right now the Chiefs do have the most bandwagon fans.
I would agree with that.
I think so.
I don't think there's any doubt.
It's the same thing with the Patriots. Remember back in the day when the Patriots were their dynasty, even though they cheated a little bit with that dynasty.
A little bit,
Just
yeah.
a little bit here and there. Some cheating was involved. Bill Belichick. There was cheating involved. I remember in Tennessee, all of a sudden these Patriots fans were popping up. And I'm like, in Tennessee, like, what are you doing? But it happens with every single team that does well. I think the Chiefs have the most bandwagon fans. Alabama is one that Chris says. Yes.
Matthew, you got
100%.
another one?
I mean, it's Duke basketball. I don't even think there's an argument here. It's again. I told Randy before the show, we got rid of bullying, which is good. But the problem is that every 13-year-old shows up to school talking about how they're a Duke fan every March, and no one bullies them for that. And that's a problem. And Duke fans are the worst bandwagon fans, bar none. It's the Lakers and Yankees would be the only one even comparable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Lakers, I've seen that one too. Bama, Lakers, yes, I see a lot of those. And I knew a guy back in the day who was a New England Patriots, Miami Heat, San Francisco Giants fan. This was back when those 3 teams were the best. He was a piece of trash. I think that that's weird. You can't be like, I don't know. Maybe because I'm just Titans through and through. You're born into it. And there were great moments when I was raised into it, other than losing to the St. Louis Rams in the Super Bowl. But I've stuck with it. Do I want to jump the ship with the Titans? Of course I do. Of course. But I'm suffering through it. I can't imagine myself just being a lifelong fan of something and then another team does well and I just jump ship.
Yeah. And Brooke, I'm not going to make another emotional investment in football franchise and an NFL franchise.
You did get back into the Cardinals.
But
though.
but that was my childhood team. So I like them and I root for them, but it doesn't ruin my week like it did when I was a kid or when the Rams were here if they lose. And it doesn't make my week if they win, although I like it.
Yeah.
But really my emotional investment is in the team that's playing the Rams. Still, I root for whoever is playing the Rams.
Yeah, this could be Ben said, whoever Wilson is rooting for. We do have a fan of many teams in here.
Yeah, he's wearing his Royals sweater today. Is that a Bo Jackson?
Royals? No, it's Ben Attendee, isn't it?
Oh,
He's got 34 teams he's a fan of.
Benintendi.
Unbelievable.
So, by the way, Matthew, did you get that? I sent you. There's my tattoo right there.
That's fantastic.
There it
solid
is.
tattoo.
And
Yeah.
so
Damn
when they
solid
win
tattoo.
again in what, 2026?
Yeah.
2027?
Yeah, we'll get another sash right below that 2019.
Yes.
Wow.
I love that, Randy. That's a great idea.
How was the pain? Like,
It was nothing.
out of 10?
So,
Really?
Just saying, like a nice little Colt
Dave
55
Kanoy,
signature.
who's the best artist in town. So what I did was I called up Joseph Francis Buck, who has a tattoo, has a couple of tattoos. Asked him who he got, and I asked
Yeah.
Chris Long, who's really inked up, but he got most of his work done in Charlottesville, and also David Freese got his done by Dave Kanoy at the Ink Spot. There's one in Troy and one in St. Peter's, and I asked those guys, and they said, "Oh yeah, Dave's the best." So he told me when we started, because I had that tattoo right there applied while we were doing a show. We were doing the Fast Lane.
Yeah.
And he said, it's going to feel like I'm scratching your skin with toothpicks. And that's exactly what it felt like. Didn't hurt at all.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
Now, if you would have gotten into probably an area, there is more sensitive areas for tattoos too.
Yeah, that
then
was not
you
gonna
probably would have been able to do the show while doing that.
No, would not have.
No.
No,
But
people
now you
would-
have a tattoo.
people would
Now
not
you're
have wanted
tatted
to see
up.
it. I am. I'm inked. I'm an ink spot.
Somebody said, I've seen more of Randy today than I thought I ever would.
Yeah.
Ellipsis 150
unfortunately.
said
Sorry
that.
about that, kids.
Yeah. Now you get to
So,
see this. He's
so
tatted
Brooke-
up.
Yeah. Brooke is last day for a while as she leaves for maternity leave.
Yes.
We love you. We're so excited for you. And
We're gonna miss you like
can't wait to
crazy.
see the little fella. You got to keep us up to
Yeah.
date. Are we allowed to keep everybody up to
Yeah,
date on
we're
what's
going
going
to
on?
miss you like crazy, but we get to meet a whole new person after the fact, so that's kind of cool.
A new
So-
person enters.
Yeah, so
the
we're
village.
sorry we're going to be missing you every morning, but enjoy the time building that relationship with the new guy.
Yes.
little fella.
Yeah, we're excited.
That's
So
awesome.
I'll keep you
He might be
guys
a big fella.
updated.
And also, Dave,
Yeah.
he works from home too, so you guys just get to be a whole family every day now.
Yeah,
That's
he
beautiful.
he does have a lot of meetings and
Yeah,
stuff,
but
so
still.
he gets to exit the house more than I probably will.
Yeah.
For a little while, but yeah, we're excited. So thank you
That
guys
is
for
exciting.
everything.
Let's
We'll miss you.
find a Saturday though, and leave him with the kid. Dump the kid
Oh,
on
yeah.
him. Get out there and get some fresh air. He needs to be doing some one-on-one too.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that I feel like he's a little too confident going into this. And so and you guys have met David, my husband,
Mm-hmm.
but David, you know, he watches like a lot of videos, and so he has done some studying, but he feels like I've asked him, I'm like,
Oh,
you know,
no.
like, how are you feeling? Like, are you nervous? He's like, no, I feel like really good going into this.
Oh,
He's
no.
like, I feel like I got the diapers down. I feel like I got, and I'm like,
Good.
usually when you're most confident going to those situations is where you're going to be throwing a lot of curveballs
But
that you're not expecting.
One of the things,
And I'm glad he feels good going. I don't want him to be scared. I'm not saying that, but I feel like he's a little too confident
much, yeah.
where it's like, this is kind of tough.
But at the end of the day, the great thing to know is that you can't mess it up. It's impossible. There's no guide
Yeah.
for it, but you really can't mess it up either. So you guys will be great parents,
Yeah.
and we're looking forward to seeing the little fella.
Thank you. Thank you
All right.
guys. Keep you guys updated.
All right. So Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad you're having fun.
Yes.
Brooke will be back before you know it. So
It'll be a
that'll be
minute,
fun.
but
Great
yes.
job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir. And we appreciate you being a part of the Randy Karraker Show. Brooke is throwing around her phone a little bit.
Bye.
And we will see you on Monday at 10:02 here on the Randy Karraker Show. Enjoy all of the great pre and post games this weekend on Sports Hub STL.